I think it's going to rain today. Rain or shine, doesn't matter. I'm just here. Quite a few people are talking about starting quilts, maybe making a second one. So go ahead and post videos, put a video response here, show what you're doing with your quilt. It would be interesting. KenRG is asking if I plan the videos ahead of time, or how I do something specific for the video, or how is that working? Of course now there's no choice. I'm just doing one thing every day, so there's nothing else, unless I want to add something else that I think is relevant. I might throw in something, you never know, like that I Ching cake. No, but before, I don't really, I know that I have to make something, even if it's only a few minutes every day. I would say it slows down the quilting process considerably, because first of all, of course, you have to film it, tape it. Then you have to put it onto the computer so that you can edit it. See, the thing I have been most interested in for the last 10 years is making videos. So that's very high priority for me, so I like doing that. And also Jeff was suggesting, maybe, what am I going to do with all the footage that I shot that I may not put into the videos? So, or what to do with those? Maybe make a video quilt. I have, with the two preceding quilts that I did online, one is the Superman quilt, and you can find it under the title Making a Quilt. The other one is called Bali Quilt. And I did the entire process just like this online. So if you're interested in that, you can see. There's a certain amount of repetition, of course. Blanche Noe suggested, well, do I ever think of getting somebody else to do the quilting? Well, I know people that do that. They farm out the quilting. There's a woman in Antigua, and she's actually in Panajachel in Guatemala. I visited a few times. And she designs the quilt, and then she gets the peons to do everything else. They machine piece it, and then they hand quilt. And she pays them something like 25 cents an hour. But you know, even if I could get somebody just to do it as a favor, I wouldn't do it. To me, this is what it's all about, doing this quilting. The design, the piecing, the laying it all out is all preparation for getting into this state, being able to live in this mindless state, except for the few brief moments I'm chatting with you. I don't hand piece. I've never hand pieced. That doesn't interest me. So I machine piece the top, but the quilting's hand quilting. Okay, Lima's got some very specific questions, and I think I should bump her up the line here, because sounds like she's hot to trot. She's got a lot of dresses, maybe her mother's dresses, different fabrics that she would like to cut up and make into a quilt. Great idea. I've done quilts out of old clothes. You know, they have a softness that if you just start with brand new fabric, that they never have that. You know, when you go to those quilt shows and you look at those boring quilts, most of them, they've all gone out and bought the fabric for the quilts. So even though they may pre-launder it, whatever they do, it still has a crispness to it, a freshness to it. You know, traditionally, quilts were made out of old clothes to keep warm. That was it. It wasn't an art project. And that's what I love about those women from Gee's Bend. When they were here and they were talking, one of them said, of course, their quilts have been, postage stamps have been made out of their quilts. They're considered one of the main arts that the U.S. has contributed to the world. Those Gee's Bend ladies' quilts. And she said, we're not making no quilts to go into museums. We make quilts to keep warm. It turns out they and the Amish make the most special quilts. Anyway, I'm sidetracking here. So Lima's got these dresses. And she says, where should she start? Well, Lima, I think you should, you're right. You said with the design, yes, I think I would start with a design, but that should be very simple. You could use a simple traditional quilt block. It's made up maybe of 2 or 3 pieces laid out in different ways, geometric ways. But even if all you used was a square and you cut your squares of the same size and then started laying those out, you'd be just amazed at the fabulous designs that would come out of the way you just laid out those simple squares. It would mean that you could proceed on without getting all hung up with shapes and forms and everything, and have the experience. And you cannot put down the effects. There are millions of effects you can get. And traditional quilts, and they're just made out of squares. So that's what I would suggest that you start with. And then you'd sew those together. Oh, you had another question. Oh, what about the fabrics? Are there certain fabrics to be avoided? So, yeah, if a lot has to do with whether you're planning to hand quilt it or not. Because if you're planning to hand quilt, then I think you want your fabrics all to be similar. Remember the trouble I had with that green piece, which is creeping up now. It's over here. It just has appeared. I'm unrolling as I'm quilting, and here it's going to be in the picture pretty soon. The real problem with that was that it was a different thread count, and it just couldn't lay properly and work properly with the surrounding pieces. But, you know, you could put in satins or whatever with your cottons. You'd get something very interesting. I wouldn't get too worried about that. Unless it's something that's really super heavy and you're planning to hand quilt it, then yeah, you might want to consider that.